The 580 Sports Talk Chiefs Instant Reaction post-game show is live. I'm Brendan Dzwierzynski. That is Dan Lucero. Good Lord. The Kansas City Chiefs, they fall to the Buffalo Bills 20-17. Perfectly fitting that one of Dan's keys to the game this week on 580 Sports Talk was first 1 to 20 was going to win this game. I really thought the Chiefs had a chance, man, and they did. They had the game probably won at that point. The Bills did everything in their power at the end of the game to give the Chiefs life, to give the Chiefs the win. Everything in their power with the dumbest, most brain-dead clock management I can imagine, and they still won. I don't know that Buffalo deserved to win that game. I know for sure with a lot of the mistakes, the Chiefs didn't deserve to win that one. I'm not even sure exactly where to start, Dan. Yeah, the officials suck. I get it. Carl Sheffers is the worst. We know that. That's not anything new. The Chiefs lose a close game where they had a chance to win. That's not anything new either. But it's at a point for me, and I know this is, instant emotional reaction kind of response to this game, and I totally am aware of that. But at some point to me, we've talked so many times about the Chiefs team, and, well, they're in every game, and it's just one thing that's a change, one thing here, one thing there. They're in all of them. Well, it's now happened 5 times, and they've lost in all of those games. It's more than just happenstance at this point. It feels like it is a trend that they cannot get it done. Too many self-inflicted mistakes. Look at the ball, Kadarius. Look at the ball right to your right. I mean, it's just, I'm almost at a loss for words for how this one ended.
You can see how close the Chiefs are to being not just a really good team, but in total command of the AFC, and you can define it now. You can define how close they are. They are about as close as Kadarius Toney was close to being onside, but he wasn't. And that's a go-ahead touchdown with a minute 12 to go. A Bills offense that would have certainly had time and timeouts, but hadn't done much of anything in the entire second half. That was the game. That was the game in Kadarius Toney's hands, and he's lined up like a millimeter offside. And it is interesting that gets called, and the Bills jump probably on 3rd and 4th down, and that is not called, leading to as emotional and as angry a Patrick Mahomes as I think I've ever seen after a game. Certainly more so than I've ever seen after a loss. But we are in uneasy lies the head that wears the crown territory. This is a team now where the frustration is beginning to pile up. They're taking everybody's best shot, and they are stepping on every rake. I posted that, and old-time Simpsons fans will know the reference. Sideshow Bob stepping on all those rakes. In that classic Simpsons gag. That's what the Chiefs are. Everywhere they can find a rake, they will step on that rake. They will make the turnover you can't afford to make to short circuit a promising drive. They had 2 drives look like they were cooking that were erased by turnovers in this game. They just can't get out of their own way. And if they did, they could be really, really good. And that should continue to be the belief. That has to continue to be the mindset. And look, if you're a Chiefs fan, you're tired of hearing that right now. I get it. I get that Mahomes and Reed and Chris Jones and anybody who takes the podium today and then the next few days or the rest of the week is going to say the same stuff. They're going to say, we're really close. We're not far away. We just got to clean some things up, little mistakes. They're right. I don't begrudge you being tired of hearing it. I don't. I totally understand if you were a Chiefs fan, you're sick of it because this is a team that was 6-1 and looked like they were in full command of the AFC, looked like the clear favorites to win another Super Bowl with the best defense of the Patrick Mahomes era. And now you got Bronco fans doing a lot of woofing, and I got to deal with it more than most of you because that's my life. That's where I'm from. They're doing a lot of woofing for a team that just beat Easton by God's stick. Let me tell you that. It's a lot of talking coming from that. But it's justified. They're a game back with 4 left, and their schedule's not all that tough either. So it is past time. Patrick Mahomes said after last week's game, we're in the go zone. Well, it's time to go. And they had a chance to go today, and they were this close. And I know you're tired of hearing about being this close. You're tired of hearing about labor pains. You want to see the baby. Well, it's another week of hearing about it because, once again, the Chiefs make the critical mistake. The Chiefs wide receiving group makes 2 critical mistakes, 1 fumble by Rashee Rice, and then, of course, the offsides by Toney. And here we are again singing the same song. It has been that position group more often than not that has been dearly costly to the Kansas City Chiefs and their chances.
And to that point, and we've got a bunch of folks who are watching along with us on YouTube and Facebook who are telling us in the comments, you got to get rid of Toney at this point. How do you make that kind of mistake? And look, I I understand the frustration, man. It is very simple. John here says, in middle school, you point at the ref and say, am I onside? We see that call in high school games all the time, right? You say, hey, am I on? Do I got to move up? Do I got to move back? Whatever it ends up being. I mean, it's that kind of mistake. And it doesn't take like analysis. You don't have to break out the coach's film, the all 22 to see, well, where are the little things they're not getting it right? Look at the box score, man. I mean, in terms of penalties, Chiefs committed more of them for more yardage. Turnovers, lost the turnover battle again. It is the worst turnover margin. We saw this. They put it on the CBS TV broadcast. Worst turnover margin for a Chiefs team under the Andy Reid regime. I mean, it's just hard to win games when you are constantly not just shooting yourself in the foot, you are taking military grade weaponry and blasting your foot off game after game after game. I just saw this from Matt Lane from our friends at the KC Sports Network. And he tweeted this not 15 minutes ago. This will be the fourth game this year that a wide receiver drop or wide receiver penalty will erase a game-winning touchdown for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I don't even know if that includes Kadarius Toney having statistically the worst wide receiver game maybe in NFL history all the way back in week 1. I don't even know if that game is included when he had negative 6.3 EPA in that game or whatever it is. And I know that I'm not giving you anything that you don't already know having watched that game, but it is frustrating because this is a team that historically, and the last half decade has been, even when they've made mistakes, because it's never been like a clean team in terms of penalties. The Chiefs are actually frequently toward the top of the league, maybe not the very top, but toward the top of the league in number of penalties committed year over year. You can forgive those sorts of things when you're winning. But they also did plenty of other things well, or they would make the right play at the right time to make up for those things. This isn't a team that does that, and the turnovers are a problem. The first one of the game, you mentioned this on Twitter, Dan. Look, sometimes someone else makes a great play. And could Patrick Mahomes have done something a little bit better on that first interception? Sure, you get a little more height on it. You change the arm angle, whatever. AJ Epinesa made a really nice play on the ball. And sometimes that happens. It is what it is. But that's one mistake in a sea of them in this game. And we're deep enough into the season. This is week 14. You've got 4 games left this season. What will it take to change? You mentioned that Mahomes quote about now we're in the go zone. Well, you got 4 weeks left. If you're not in the go zone in this game against a team that is back against the wall, desperate as can be, and you don't feel like you're in the go zone, you're not in the go zone mindset, what is it going to take to get you there? And I don't know if we have the answers, and I don't know if the Chiefs have those answers.
I see a lot of people, you want to chalk it up to effort and complacency because those are like easy things to fall back on and say, oh, they're not playing hard enough, or oh, they don't want it enough. Like that's not what I saw over the course of 60 minutes for the Chiefs. I thought they bowed up on defense after the Bills started hot. They got out again. You bury yourself in a 14-0 hole. Those are hard to climb out of in this league. Really hard to climb out of, particularly against good teams. And the Bills, 7-6 record notwithstanding, they've been a better team than their record all season long. It's hard to keep digging your way out of those deficits. It's really, really tough. But the defense bowed their necks, got some big 3-and-outs against a team that never goes 3-and-out. I mean, the Bills, I think they go 3-and-out less than any other team in the league. And the Chiefs got a couple of big 3-and-outs in the second half. Gave the offense every opportunity, and that is where we are with this team. That is why it feels so frustrating, is because time and again in all of these defeats, all 5 losses so far for the Chiefs, the offense has had an opportunity in the fourth quarter. The offense has had an opportunity in the second half to take a lead, to extend a lead, to tie a game, to win a game, and they haven't done it. Those drives, those game-winning drives, those things that have been signatures of the Patrick Mahomes era, of this Super Bowl championship era that we're in the middle of, they're not there. They have not been there for this team. And they had a chance to take the lead. They're in the red zone. They stall out. They settle for the field goal. They have a miscommunication on second down. Mahomes gets sacked, I think, on that third down, or I don't remember how that drive went, but they incomplete pass on third down, and they gotta settle for the field goal instead of taking the 21-17 lead right there and changing the face of the rest of that game. You tie it and you give the Bills an opportunity to go and eventually take the lead to win the game. And then when you have the ball and a chance to win, and you have made a play that, I mean, my goodness, how long would that have lived in Chiefs lore? The throwback from Kelsey to Toney for a touchdown. People are dancing in the aisles at Arrowhead. Kadarius Toney's a millimeter offside. And look, I mean, he was offside. There's not much you can say about it. You can say, oh, they almost never call that, which is true. But that's why we say almost never, not never. It happened. And it's just a little thing. That's how close this whole thing is to being really, really good. And it's just not there. And like you mentioned, this is not new that the Chiefs are penalized or that the Chiefs turn the ball over. What's new is they haven't had the high-end offensive talent to be able to overcome it this year. And now this thing's going in the wrong direction. And we see in the comments, I see you, John. I see you, Paul, GT. Appreciate you all tuning in. I see the concern, and I understand. I understand where it's coming from, that right now the Broncos are hot. They're hot on Kansas City's heels. And as much as Tony Romo talked about playing a road game in the playoffs, what about a first-round road game? What about a road game as a wild card? Because, yeah, the division is up for grabs right now. 100%. That's a reality of where this situation is with 4 games to play, and it shouldn't be. Like when the Chiefs beat the Chargers, we said it was over. And we had every reason to believe it was over, and it's a credit to the Broncos and the turnaround that they've engineered, that they've worked their way back into it. But also, this is the other thing we're not accustomed to with the Chiefs. When it's November and December, this is when this team hits its stride. This has always been in the Mahomes-Reed era when things start to get really good, when things start to look really smooth, when they start to wreck teams. And it's not happening. It's not happening. They are in these close games, and they are not winning the close games. And sometimes you don't win. Like, sometimes that's just a thing. Like, you know, for the Chargers, it's been their thing for years. Like, it was the Ravens' problem last year. They had a ton of trouble in close games. This appears to be a season where the Chiefs cannot make the one play or avoid the one mistake that gets them over the hump in the close game.
And that is often, not always, but that is often a reflection, I think, of good or bad coaching. And I hope it does not come off like I'm saying Andy Reid all of a sudden is not good at his job, or the staff's not good at their jobs. That is not what I believe at all. But oftentimes, if a team is either really good in one score situations, or, 1, 2, 3 point situations, or really bad at it, you can point to, well, that team is terribly coached, or that team is really well coached. We know that the Chiefs, generally speaking, are a well-coached team, and they still can't get it done. And I think, to me, what stands out, and this is kind of reflecting some of the points that some of the folks who are watching along are making today too, a lot of it is the usual suspects. I just gave you that note from Matt Lane from the KC Sports Network, but I mean, it wasn't Patrick Mahomes. I don't think was, again, great today, but he oftentimes has to paper over the mistakes of others. But look at the other players who are making plays, like the run game. Okay, no Isaiah Pacheco today. He's been your best running back this season, but overall, 18 carries, 82 yards. That's over 4.5 yards a carry, 1 touchdown on the ground. That's pretty much what Isaiah Pacheco does like every single week for this Chiefs team. Like, that is right about what the Chiefs normally do in the run game, even though they didn't have RB1. Can't blame Travis Kelce for this one. 6 catches, 83 yards. He ended up making what would have been, and I know how much Andy Reid hates those laterals he loves to pull out, but he made a heady play that almost won them the game. Rashee Rice continues to impress, 7 for 72 and a touchdown. He was awesome today. Rashee Rice was fantastic in this game.
Except for the fumble.
Well, okay, yeah, did have the fumble. But other than that, he did more than go down the list of everyone else who was catching passes. Kadarius Toney, 3 for 25, made the crucial mistake. MVS, did he get off the bus? I don't know if I had seen him until he made that 7-yard catch at the end. 2 for 22 for your highest paid wide receiver in this game. And we know, I know what MVS is. You know what MVS is. Everybody knows what he is at this point. But you have to hope for more out of guys you're paying that much to, you're putting on the field all that often. Justin Watson today, in the last 2 weeks, Dan, can you tell me how many receptions and yards Justin Watson has in the last 2 games?
1 catch, 20-some yards, I think.
18.
He had 1 catch today. He did 18. Yeah, he didn't have a catch last week. He had 1 catch.
1 catch, 18 yards in 2 weeks. And we know what Justin Watson is because the money reflects it. Look at what he was getting paid this offseason. He got to come back on a multi-year deal for $6 million. He's making relief pitcher Will Smith money, we found out this weekend. Like, that's all he's making. So you don't expect a whole lot, but when you don't have anyone else who can step up and make these plays, you kind of have to rely on that. Richie James, I thought, got a few more snaps today, but he ends up with 1 catch. Sky Moore he got 1 target in the game and just a handful of snaps out there. There's just not to the point you made, and I'm trying to, agree with something you said earlier, you don't have that kind of elite, ancillary talent around Mahomes, Kelsey, and formerly Hill like this team has had before. And our guy Goober here in the YouTube comments says, I know there's still time left, but I'm losing hope in this team. I know you can't win the Super Bowl every year, but I'm at a loss for words for what this year is. And I think that sort of reflects how I'm feeling too, because you're 100% right. Like, it's the one little thing. It's you're just a toenail offside, or it's one dropped pass, or one miscommunication on a route. And in a vacuum, on a game-by-game basis, you say, God, they were so close to it. But the fact that it has happened so many times just makes you think, why? Why is a team with this kind of coach and this kind of quarterback and this kind of veteran presence and a defense that should help you win far more often than not, why are those little tweaks not being fixed? Why are those little kinks not being worked out? And it's frustrating. And I'm frustrated, and I'm not even a Chiefs fan. If you are a fan, like if you live and die with this team, you're probably pissed off, and I can't blame you.
Also frustrated. And again, heavy lies the head that wears the crown, and that's the Chiefs right now. Andy Reid, in his post-game remarks, was asked about Tony being offside. If you watch the live feed, his foot is on what is measured as the offensive, the line of scrimmage, right? His foot is on the line. Andy Reid saying after the game, I've been in the league for a long time. I haven't had one like that. Normally I get a warning before that's called. Quote, a bit embarrassing for the National Football League for that to take place. It takes a lot for Andy Reid to come out and say that about a call, a situation, the officiating in the post game, that was called. And it speaks again to the rarity of that flag being thrown. And I would trust Andy Reid if he says, yeah, maybe the coach or gets a warning, or the player gets a warning. Hey, you're lining up, you were a hair off there, but we're not going to throw a flag for you being a centimeter offside or whatever it is. But for Andy Reid to say that it was an embarrassing call, and for Mahomes to react the way that he did, when, again, letter of the law, it's offside. Letter of the law, Kadarius Toney's lined up in the neutral zone. For them to show that level of frustration with that call, it just shows you how frustrated that those two guys in particular are with the direction this season is taking. Here's the good news. If you are inclined to look for good news, if you are a Chiefs fan, I will say it right here and right now, and you can come and you can point the finger at me and come back to this video in a month and be mad at me if you want. The Chiefs are not losing another regular season game. I'm going to go ahead and say that right now. I'll say it twice. The Chiefs are not losing another regular season game. They are going to win out. They play the Patriots next week. Unserious. They play the Raiders the week after. You've seen them. They've got the Bengals the week after that. And I have a feeling we'll have caught on to the fact that Jake Browning only throws screen passes by that point in the season. I think the Chiefs are going to win that game and be fine. And then they're going to play the Chargers probably without Justin Herbert, who broke his index finger on his right hand today and is probably out for the remainder of the season. The Chiefs are not losing again. So I am still not worried about the AFC West. The Chiefs aren't going to lose another West Division game, and as long as they don't do that, as long as they beat the Chargers and Raiders, which, come on, and then they don't lose the other two games, they will win the division. They'll have the divisional tiebreaker at 5-1 in the division. So that's the good news. They've got time to get right before January, and that's the most important month of the season for a team with Super Bowl aspiration. But that is the good news. The bad news is just about everything else. It's another frustrating week. It's another disappointing week, and you can tell that the frustration is beginning to wear on head coach Andy Reid and the quarterback Patrick Mahomes in a way that, I mean, you go back, you think back to when it was this bad the last time. It was that midseason stretch in 2021. It was never like this. Like the frustration level, it was never like this. Goober in the comments says, I'll buy you the biggest pack of beer I can find if I'm right. I'm going to hold you to that, GT. I'm going to hold you to that.
GT, you got to be back here week 18, man. I'm just saying, you got to be back here week 18 if the Chiefs are indeed able to do that. Just a real quick final thought from me. One, I said it, I think it was on Friday's show for 580 Sports Talk. If the Bills were going to win this game, Josh Allen had to be Superman Josh Allen. And maybe the numbers didn't look great. And yeah, he made some mistakes too. Josh Allen was pretty freaking good in this game. And that's part of it too. The Bills were desperate. They had to have a win. Absolutely had to have a win. Jordan Foote of Sports Illustrated even told us on the show on Tuesday this past week, 5 days ago, he thought the Bills were going to win this game because the Bills were so desperate, and the Chiefs, with such an easy stretch the rest of the way, would still get 4 wins. They would still get to 12-5 overall, and they'd be fine going into the postseason. And hey, Jordan's smarter than me, so I don't know. I hope that ends up being the case. But man, it is just so tough when it's the little things that continue to pile up over and over and over again. It lets doubt creep into your mind. And I don't blame anyone who feels doubt about where this team's ceiling is for this 2023 season. We'll talk all about this game and so much more coming up on Monday on 580 Sports Talk from 2 until 6. It'll be yours truly, Dan and Jake LeBon, breaking it all down. We'll get to the entire NFL weekend with Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated. We've got some college hoops to talk about and a whole lot more coming up. Again, that's Monday from 2 until 6 on 580 Sports Talk. But until then, for Dan Lucero, I'm Brendan Dzwierzynski. Kansas City Chiefs lose to the Buffalo Bills 20-17. Chiefs now 8-5 on the year with 4 games to go. We'll talk to you guys on Monday. Until then, try to calm down, take a deep breath. We'll talk to you